Hello, hello. Y'all know Wednesday night is my favorite day of the week, my favorite time of the week, and I am just still all excited. We have a whole lot of stuff going on around us that make us say, Lord, will America ever be the same? But yes, it will. Tonight, you know how I always talk about we just dismiss the elderly, the older people, the people, the wisdom. I said we throw all our wisdom away. Tonight we're going to talk about wisdom and how to take care of our wisdom. Sigrid, we just said thank you for joining us tonight. And we have Keisha Jackson with us. And she's going to tell us about herself and where her expertise come from in this area. And we're going to talk about it. So if you have somebody older you have to take care of or somebody you know, just tune in and listen and grow and help them have a rich end of their lives. Welcome to A Moment with Vivacious, a freedom ride where we the people gather to build ourselves, our family, our community, and our nation. For the sound of America for Progress has reached critical mass. Understanding that we must put aside our differences to focus on the greater good. This is a place of collaboration to rebuild and restore our nation. Welcome to A Moment with Vivacious. Hello, hello. Hi, how are you?
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Keisha Jackson. I'm a nurse, or I'm working as a palliative care nurse. I've been a nurse for maybe 16 years. My level of expertise lies under the umbrella of geriatrics, hospice, and palliative care, or geriatrics, palliative care, and hospice. So that's where my love is, where my passion is for service and helping people. Vivacious. Valine, thank you for inviting me to share some information. I'm all about helping and education and how we can better serve each other and our loved ones. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, dear Scott, for joining us. And I am so glad that you are here because geriatrics is a new thing for me. I did everything else, and at the end of my career, I've come to geriatrics, and I find out that not only do people not know how to get old. I told my sister, I always tell her, don't let yourself get old. Just don't let yourself get old. So now she's trying to back up from allowing herself to get old. And doing a good job at it too. I'm excited. But can we talk about getting older and from the perspective of the elder person and perspective from the family?
Okay, so I like to say we're getting older. We are living to get older. And personally, I've always appreciated the geriatrics community because there's so much wisdom there. There's so much life that has been lived and experienced. And if you really just kind of sit with them, you can learn so much. But you do have to pace yourself. You have to slow down and give them an opportunity to talk and express themselves and rehash and whatever it is that they have to do to give you those words of wisdom and those life lessons. So I love to sit with the elder population or elderly people because that's where I'm going to get all the information I need in order to know how to live. It's difficult to see people aging because you probably think with aging comes death, but you need to be living in the present with your family members. And it's difficult for your family members as well that are aging because they too are thinking about death. So everybody's thinking about the end when they really need to be probably focusing on right now and their quality of life and maybe doing some advanced planning even for when they get to that stage. So it's not a bad thing. We shouldn't be looking at geriatrics or aging in a begrudging way as much as celebrating it, celebrating life, listening to each other, sharing their time, finding out what they like, what's important to them. Maybe being with the grandkids, watching games, sitting outside, whatever it is they enjoy. We all just have to take a seat and enjoy life because we'll all come to that place. So you really need to gather an appreciation for it and make it might not be so scary when you get there.
Well, it's not about death for me. Personally, I'm gonna start off a little personal. It's about not being able to live as an older woman. My sister said to me one day, "Oh, I'm praying that my siblings that we be in our 90s like the rest of our family who died." I said, "Stop praying that prayer for me. I don't want to live to be that old." I don't want to be eating no puree food, and I know my daughter always say I don't have to go in the home, but she's the only child I have, and I know her and her her fiance, they would have no problem with taking care of me. But you have your children. By then, she may have grandkids. I don't want to be an imposition, but I do not want to be old and can't live. I can't imagine not being able to get up and go shake somewhere and have me a drink. So tell us what you think about that, because it's like I don't want to get old. I don't want to.
I think that those differences is what makes all the difference. That's why you have to see everybody individually. Like you feel like I want to enjoy my life. I want to be as active as possible. And when everything slows down to a certain point, I'm okay with transitioning. Whereas your sister is saying she wants to live forever. She want to live until the wheels fall off. So I think that it's important that you listen to people and hear what's important to them. And it's no judgment. It should be no judgment. I feel like, oftentimes family members, they love selfishly or we love selfishly. We want our family members to live forever. Working in palliative care and hospice, I see end of life a lot of times. So if it's up to the family member, oftentimes that person, that elder person or that person at end of life will live on machines and just go on and on and on until there is no end. Like they won't stop the process. They won't allow a natural death and things of that nature. So it's important that you listen to people, listen to how they want to live so that you can honor them in the right way, not selfishly, not what you would want or your children will want. Just let everybody make their own choices. But those conversations really need to start early. And sound like you and your sister are letting y'all family members know exactly how you feel about in the life.
I think that we're I can't say. I think she's thinking what she's thinking cause this. I don't read her mind, but I read her heart.
Right.
Like she couldn't. She was the one after our mom passed to be our mom. You know, she made sacrifices for us. So to imagine her life without us, this is what I'm thinking.
Hmm.
So if I don't get to 90, she'll be 90. Then she'll have life without me, and we all each other have. So maybe that's the reason. But I wanted to say that. But I also wanted to say I heard this woman tell her mama this the other day. Her mom can talk and everything. She can't move, but she can talk and stuff. And so she told her mom, she said, give her her pain meds, give her her pain meds. I want her to have that morphine every hour. Look, this lady don't need no morphine every hour. She's not. I want her to have it because mom's going to heaven soon, right, mom? You're going to heaven. I thought, oh my God, she's saying this to, I mean, that's total opposite of my sister loving me, want me to be here, and saying, give her that morphine because she's gonna be gone soon.
Right.
and getting her mother to agree with it. Am I am I am I just overthinking like this is horrible?
I think it's a matter of education. People, you really just have to talk to people and see why they thinking what they're thinking. Like, is she thinking I'm gonna shorten her life, or is she thinking I really just want you to be comfortable? And then maybe educating her on the need for the medication and what that looks like. This is not a Tylenol. This is a very potent drug, and this could
Right.
suppress
And
her
get to hanging
breathing
out.
and really, shorten her life. Or, this is, you could overdose, or whatever the case may be, or really just explaining what pain management would look like. Or is she acting out of fear? Like, I think conversations need to be had on those levels to help people understand. Sometimes people act out of fear, but they want the best for their loved one. You just don't know how people are responding when really they really probably just want the best for their loved one. And since we kind of sharing some private, personal things, more personal things, I think we deal with a lot of fear as it relates to people getting older, or just not being able to relate. Like, even with children, they don't kind of like deal with elders. I think it's good that children get to be around older people so they can be more comfortable with the aging process. For me personally, like I said, I've been a nurse for forever. My mom had a condition, and she became debilitated, but she still has a really strong mind. But I'm accustomed to her being mobile and all of these things. So when she became immobile, it was a lot for me to accept. I really was, I just got afraid. I just kind of shut down. I wasn't even able to communicate with her effectively. I just went totally into loss. Like, oh my God, I'm losing my mom, and she's losing her mobility, she's debilitated, she's homebound, and just all of these things. Well, and it kind of fractured our relationship. We really weren't communicating well. I just was always, like I said, full of fear and anxiety about loss. So it was almost like a grieving process. So I went home recently, and I had the opportunity to bring her out. Like, she needed to go to the bank. So, okay, we called a little RTA lift and everything, and we went to the bank together. And I'm telling you, that changed my perception. Like, we were able to get her in a wheelchair, get her on the lift. We went to the bank. We ended up having to wait for the lift. So we kind of like just sat outside in the lobby of the bank for like 3 hours waiting for the lift to come. And I sat on the floor, and we had a wonderful time together, just sitting and people watching. It was like a new life. It was like I was able to experience a new norm with her, given even with that condition. And like after that, it truly was an awakening for me, because I felt like I can't wait to go back home. I'm gonna take my mama to dinner. Like, we gonna go out to dinner. We gonna get on that lift, and we gonna go sit and people watch and eat, or whatever it is we can do. So you just really have to change your
Spiritual
mindset
mother.
sometimes.
Yeah.
You have to see that there is a life beyond aging or disability. People are still needing love and support and warmth. Somebody is still there oftentimes. So, you just got to talk to people and see where the fears lie, and why, or why they're doing what they're doing. Why are you acting this way? Maybe you can educate them or support them enough to change their mindset.
And Barbara Dozier, welcome, Barbara. Thanks for coming. When I made the comment about what happened with my patient's daughter, she wrote New Day Children. And then Sigrid wrote, Sigrid is my sister. Our mom died at 41, and she just wanted us to, and she just want us to live to see our children and grandchildren to success. We were still very young children when we lost her.
Oh, wow.
And I think that made a difference on how we saw death, because for a very, very long time, I was just so afraid of dead people and death.
Hmm.
I was very afraid, and now I don't want to get off the subject. And now I'm growing every day as far as that's concerned. And I guess I won't be afraid to be old if I get that way, but long as I can walk and dance and have a drink sometimes. But but look, I want to talk about, because people don't understand this. Hospice, I don't know if it used to be that you just, if you went on hospice, you was transitioning. And some people that are on hospice um, might live for years. Could you explain the difference in the occurrence of hospice?
Sure. So hospice is the philosophy is it's for a person who has a terminal illness with a diagnosis or illness that where they have 6 months or less to live. And of course, we know that that is just an approximation. And it's really just they may definitely live longer than 6 months. But if the doctor says that their condition will likely have them to live 6 months or less, it's an end stage condition or terminal illness, then they are hospice appropriate at that point. So oftentimes that'll be like maybe some type of metastatic cancer or some kind of cardiac disease. There are all kind of conditions that are hospice appropriate. Hospice can come in, they can do like just an informational and let the person know these are the services that we offer. It's an interdisciplinary team, so it's a nurse, chaplain, social worker, and a doctor. They manage the patient's care from that point. They become their medical team. They no longer go to their primary care doctors or any doctors that service whatever their terminal illness is. So there are a couple gray areas. One thing for sure, that person will not be able to see the doctor that was treating that terminal illness because they've decided at that point that they don't have any care options. They really just want to focus on comfort and quality of life. They don't want to go back and forth to the hospital anymore. They want to just be comfortable. They want to focus on comfort measures. So if they went go ahead and accept hospice, the hospice agency is going to start managing all of their medical care. The nurse will likely come over maybe once a week, make sure that they have all their medications, give all of the education that they need as far as how to administer those medications. The social worker and chaplain will be available for support, resources, or spiritual support, and a nursing assistant will come approximately 3 days a week to give some level of care to the patient, personal care, excuse me, some level of personal care, but the family is still always involved and available 24 hours a day. Hospice is really there to just support you through your process. It's a team that understands what end of life is. Things get scary with dying, like you said. You're afraid of death and dead people and things of that nature. So with hospice, they really can talk the family through that phase when the patient comes to it, hearing the breathing, the way the body changes, things of that nature. That's their specialty area, and it really can help you with understanding what it looks like. They really can support the family. So that's what hospice is. And I mean, a person can accept hospice earlier on in their disease process, which is best because you really get that level of support. Oftentimes, people don't accept it or they wait until the end to accept it. I personally think it's better to accept it earlier on in the condition. I like to refer to like Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was on hospice for years. He just accepted it when he was to the point that, hey, I don't have any more treatment options. I want to just be comfortable. I want to be at home. I don't want to go back and forth to the hospital. What would that look like for a person? Maybe you could get some prophylactic antibiotics and things of that nature if you thought you had maybe a little bladder infection, this, that, or the third. But going back and forth to the hospital, people don't want to do that at a certain point. The hospital can do a lot to you, maybe not doing anything for you. It's a difficult place to come to, but hospice is a viable option for a transition in medical care.
I think that makes all of us feel good because when you, I think what it's saying is that when you come to a place that you know you're not going to be healed.
Right.
Dear Scott said, my parents had very detailed wills and life insurance policies in place to care of all six of us. Even with that all in place, sibling rivalry was prominent and toxic. It taught me a lot. And Nolan
Yeah.
said good night.
That's difficult, and we see it a lot. And as parents, I think that it's prudent to kind of just do as much as you can to squelch that situation, or bring your family together, but it's not always possible. It's really not always possible, but I think that we would want to do the best that we can. Sometimes it's important to, like you said, you get the healthcare agents together, the will together, everything together, and there still could be some friction among the kids, but you should try to put as much in place as you can. Like name, like if a person has 6 kids, there may be only one that they really think could speak to what they want done medically, and it's best to pick one or two. So if you get your advanced directive completed, you can say who your medical healthcare agent is, the person that will speak for you medically. You could pick your primary person, the secondary, and the third person. But those are the only 3 people that will make those final decisions as to what happens. But then there's also a financial healthcare agent, or a financial agent, or power of attorney. Now that's the financial part. So it's 2 different things. You can have medical determinants, but then you have the financial. So it's a lot that goes into end of life, and I agree with that person. It can get complicated, especially with several siblings and rivalry and money involved. But we just have to put God first, and do our best.
So Keisha, when we come to the part of medical, and maybe it was because I was a nurse, I wasn't the oldest child, but I made the big decisions when my dad um, when my dad was sick, and I would get all my siblings together and we would talk about what we're gonna do, and they followed my lead. It went very smoothly. It followed my lead. But what are some of the things a parent can do? What do you put in place that what you want will do, and not, and people fighting because one child want to do this and one child want to do that? How do you put that as far as your life and your health care?
So it's actually called an advanced directive. That's the starting point. Really, the starting point is to start having those conversations with your family members, just openly talking about, do I want to be a full code, meaning do I want CPR and all aggressive measures if I were to stop breathing or my heart were to stop beating, or do I want a natural death? They'll call it a DN, or do not resuscitate, do not intubate, but I like to coin it as a natural death, a natural passing, meaning you don't want all those aggressive measures. It has its place and it's an option. But starting with that line of communication with your family is really important. Then you need to get an advanced directive completed. By Georgia law, if you're married, your spouse would be the first person to be able to make decisions. If you don't have a spouse, then it would be your children, then your parents, then your siblings. So if you don't have a living, if you don't have a advanced directive completed, that's the way the process goes when a person is in the hospital and not able to speak for themselves. And not able to speak for yourself could be cognitively, you just can't make decisions, you're confused, or you're having some issues with your mind, or if you're just not able because you're unresponsive.
And how do you
So
get an advanced directive?
You really could get one from online. Whoever your medical providers are, they should have them available for you. And it's a simple form. You can simply put on there your name, your date of birth. You're going to sign it. You're going to name who your healthcare agents are, who you want to speak for you. In this case, in the case of you and your family, you would have been a primary, and maybe one of your siblings would have been a secondary, whoever your mom or whoever the patient would select. You put their name and their street address or whatever is indicated, and then you need two witnesses. You don't need anything legally binding or go to court or anything like that. Just two witnesses, somebody that's not involved in your medical care and not related to you.
So
You're
you
gonna
might
get
be, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
So you might be able to get it off the internet.
Yeah, you can get it off the internet. I would Google Georgia Advanced Directive. If you have insurance, medical care, you have doctors, your physician's office should have that as well. Like I work for Kaiser, we can go on a Kaiser portal. If you ever been to Emory, in anywhere you have medical records or a portal, you can get it from there, or you should ask your physician for it. They should be able to get that to you. Or again, I'm sure you could go online and find an advanced directive. And if anybody wants one, I could forward them that. I could definitely get anybody who was interested in an advanced directive in the state of Georgia, I could get them a copy of one. But it's a simple form. It's nothing intricate or too involved. You need those two witnesses. People, it could be your neighbor, a friend. Get them both to sign. Put there, I think they have to maybe put an address on there, a PO box. They can just put city or state. It's not legally binding, so nobody's going to come after them for anything for signing. They just need those witnesses. There is also an area on there where you can have your specifics, your specific wishes, but that's not legally binding. That part is just optional. So that's where the communication between the patient and the healthcare agents come in. That's when you have to let people know, I don't want to be intubated. Or maybe I do want resuscitation measures, and give me 3 attempts or give me a couple attempts, or I only, if I am intubated, just do it for however long, this period of time. If it looks like this is what I want. But it really has to be a detailed conversation between the patient and the family. And it's better to do it now while we're viable, able to dance, do what we want to do, because when people get down, it's too late. You won't be able to have that conversation. So for myself, I've had these conversations with my family. I know who I want my healthcare agent to be. For whatever reason, I picked my son. That's the person who I think that could make these hard decisions for me without so much emotion involved, really just making a good sound decision for me. Of course, he probably would defer to his dad to, just to make everybody feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable, but at
Right.
the end of the day, who are you giving that responsibility to? That's a huge responsibility, so you really should be networking with that patient or talking openly and frankly with that person about what you want. So
Yeah. I
the first
talked to
step
my
to
daughter
that.
about it, even though she hated. I talked to her about it because she insists on being that person. Until she was got to a certain age, it was my sister. And she said, "But they're supposed to call me. They're supposed to call me." I don't even know if my poor little baby would be able to, make that decision at that time. But
Right.
I know my
That's
sister.
another reason why I think it's important to have those discussions, because we love selfishly and it's difficult. I've seen it time and time again. It's a hard spot to put family in. If they haven't heard from that person about what they want, generally speaking, often the family members will just want you to keep going, keep going, keep going. I want everything. A miracle gonna happen, something gonna happen, not really thinking about what that person may want. And maybe it's because they never had that conversation and they don't know. And it's a difficult situation to put loved ones in, to just not know what to do with you at a certain point in life. So I think, yeah, you just have to open up that conversation, as hard as it may be.
Yeah. And I tell her, look, I want my own wigs. Don't go give me the old lady wigs and the old lady clothes. I already have everything like I like it. So just put that on me. But
Right.
I want to talk about too the family members. I understand that there are some people who just not going to help with an older person until they pass, and then when they pass, they want to rush over, and I don't know if it's guilt or whatever. But that's not the people I'm talking about. I want to talk about people, and should we judge them, who just cannot bring themselves to take care of their person when they know they're transitioning.
I don't think that they should be judged. You should try to meet people where they are as much as you can and see what they can do. What can you do? If you can't come over and take care of the body, like you can't give baby baths, you can't change diapers, if you can't do that level of care, what can you do? Can you bring some lunch over? Can you give a couple breaks? I'll make sure that the family member is comfortable and dry and everything, but I need a break. Like, what is it that the person can do? And if you can't get them to do anything, I guess you have to resign to allow them to do just that. And I mean, I think that we all need grace on some level, if possible. But you know, I'm a total optimistic. It's just who I am. We all need grace, and it won't help us to just be angry at people either. We have to just accept people where they are and understand that there's a reason why they're feeling this way or dealing with it. And probably if we allow ourselves to really just relax and not be angry, we know what's going on with our family members, why they act the way they act. Maybe it's relationship issues from the past, maybe it's trauma. It could be so many things, guilt, whatever.
Yeah,
So you're going to have some that go over and beyond and some that do nothing. My grandmother used to say, one mama could raise 8 kids, but 8 kids can't raise one mama or take care of
right,
one mama.
right,
So I think there's a lot of truth to that.
right. I remember when my aunt was sick, and I came into town, and I said I'm gonna spend this weekend in the hospital because they had been spending, and my cousins must have told her that I was a nurse, and I think I'm a doggone good nurse, but I could not change my aunt like that. You know, I helped. I turned her over, but she didn't like it. How would you like it if somebody's pulling on your clothes? And I said, Nanny, you can pull on my clothes. But look, I was making a big mess out of trying to clean her up, you know. But the nurse did it. But she said, and what you say you do? I do it every day, but not on her, you know. So, to that point, I can understand. And another point that I want to talk about that maybe you, as you have spent time with families, can help us face like financially. Mama need nothing is more expensive than those Pampers and pull-ups. Mama need Pampers and pull-ups, and Mama might not be dying in the bed. She get to a certain age, and her Social Security check is this much money. How can family members come together with mothers who are willing to talk about it? First of all,
Right.
and mothers who are willing to talk about it and help each other in that situation.
That's really called advanced care planning. So I mean, you have to think ahead when you know your family member is getting older. It's really inevitable that they're going to need more care, and what that's going to look like, it requires around the clock care at some point. It requires more assistance. They're going to need more assistance physically, more assistance in the home with cooking, activities of daily living, everything from just getting as basic as having a bath, brushing their teeth, getting dressed, to cooking, the supplies, the things that are needed around the home, the finances, and you really just have to start sitting down and planning it out. With insurance, no insurance will pay for something called custodial care. That means a caregiver or somebody to come in the house and take care of your family member. That's not going to be paid for through insurance. Oftentimes, that's self pay. So the family has to come together. They're either going to do the work themselves or they're going to have to pay for caregivers to come into the home. As far as the financial part, you have to know what the person's income is. You should be assigning a financial power of attorney so somebody has access to mother's finances, her bank statements, her social security award letters, all of those things. The family should be coming together to talk about who can mom live with, who's going to be living with mom. Do you want to transition her to long-term care and things of that nature? What are her assets? Really taking a deep dive into the finances and thinking of yourself as the total caregiver. Really just looking at everything comprehensively, from how to take care of the person physically and financially, and trying to come together as a family and make those decisions. Of course, you don't want to neglect the patient or the person, because I oftentimes see where patients want to be in their own home and they can't. They can't take care of themselves the way they used to. It's not safe anymore. And you have to kind of like, families have to insert themselves. And that's challenging as well. Some people don't have anyone to help them. So that's a whole nother story. But if you do have family, you have to lean in on your family, start having those real conversations, thinking it through, writing it down, putting things in order, getting your health, your medical power of attorney, your financial power of attorney, figuring out who you want to open up to like that. And really just give them the whole rundown, all the policies you have, all the bank accounts, the money under the pillow, under the mattress, wherever it is. Really just being honest and open, asking those hard questions. Nobody really wants to talk about it, but asking those hard questions. What's the plan before we get there?
And looking at and just being there. This is what I find that children have problems with. They remember that mom, or dad who runs and jumps. And my dad took care of us after my mom died, and now dad is debilitated. And look, I want you to be the person you used to be. And until you get to be that person you used to be, you can't come home. How do we deal with
Mm.
those? You can't come home. How do we deal with those on both sides? How do that person deal with it, and how do that family help that family understand that maybe they'll never be like, I don't know.
That's tough. That's tough, Valine. That's a matter of acceptance and denial, that that person is never going to be who they once were. That's a memory, and that's difficult for the patient, the person, as well as the family, because the person is dealing with, I'm not the man I used to be. I can't do the things that I once did. I can't cut the grass. I can't clean myself. I'm tired. I'm aging. I'm in pain. Whatever their debility looks like, they're dealing with that as well. All the memories of who they used to be. It's stuck inside of a body that can't do what they once did. And then you have family members that struggle with that idea in different ways as well. Constantly telling a person that can no longer cognitively or mobility wise do what they once did. You don't want to do nothing for yourself no more. You don't want to feed yourself. You don't want to eat. You don't want to get up. Well, they can't. And that's kind of that too is a matter of communication. Somebody has to be able to calmly calmly orientate that family member to the fact that, oh, dad can't do that anymore, or he's aging, or tell him about what the condition is. Maybe he has a cardiac condition. He's really exhausted now. His oxygen level is low. Or maybe he has a cognitive issue, dementia or Alzheimer's. His thought process is different now. He can't think. He's confused. He doesn't know where he is. Or he's incontinent now. He can't help that he's urinating on himself or whatever is going on. I think sometimes it's important to sit families down and tell them about the disease and the disease process. And that this is why something is going on. They need to be responsible enough. I would love them to be responsible enough to go to a few doctor's appointments and have a doctor that's able to really sit down and explain it. Working in palliative care, which is where I'm presently working, we do that a lot. It's a lot of disease education. It's a lot of diagnosis and prognosis conversations where you can sit down, slow down, and literally sit down with the patient and the family and talk about this is what's going on. This is what led up to this condition. This is everything surrounding it, all the specialists and everything. And this is what this condition will progressively look like. How would you like to move forward? What are your goals of care? How is your family going to be able to support you? Everybody is not privy to that level of care, and maybe it's because of medical insurance, maybe it's because of their disease or their condition, but those conversations need to be had. Maybe they have that family member that is a nurse or in the medical field and knowledgeable enough to find out what these conditions look like and how they'll inevitably affect the person. But it's again, it's about educating yourself and having some real conversations. These are wonderful questions, Vivacious.
This is really so good to me. To bring up, I have a patient. She cries every day. I want to go home. Once, even if your parent have to leave their house to go to your house to live, they've spent their lives building their home and the environment. Like, I'm very attached to my environment. And one thing my daughter always says, you're gonna have to come live with me. That's difficult. That's like ending your life, because now I'm gonna have a room at your house, or I'm gonna have a space at your house, and I have to give up my whole environment for a space. I want. Can you talk about how difficult that is for people as they're aging, and they know they can't take care of themselves. It's, to me, it's almost worse when you know that you can't take care of yourself, but there's nothing you can do about it.
I literally had a patient, now that you mention that, I had a patient that just cried and cried every time I would see this lady. She would be crying because she didn't want to move in with her daughter, who was willing to take care of her daughter and her son in law. She admittedly said that they were good people, because she didn't want to get rid of her things in her home, and a dresser that her dad had left her, or some furniture that her dad left her. And we really talked about it, and she needed to move in with her family member because she couldn't take care of herself anymore. And she was fortunate and blessed to have family that was willing to take her in. And it got to the point that we decided, could you just take one of those pieces of furniture with you and go to a safe space with your daughter? And it was important that her daughter knew so that they could really address it. But it's a real fear. It's a loss of your independence. So yeah, and is there's nothing like the comfort of your home, your things, what feels good to you, your smells, all of those things. People want to be home. Even going back to hospice. Hospice is really supposed to be in the home. And people want to be home. I hear more often that people want to be home than being in a hospital if they are in the life. And that's where hospice supports people to be in the comfort of their home. So there is comfort in your home, but again, early conversations talking about what are we going to do when you can't take care of yourself anymore? Who are you comfortable with? Who's going to do it? Asking, making sure that that person is willing to do it as well. It's a lot of transitions on everybody's part. But oftentimes I do feel like once the patient gets to the family member's home, if everybody's on board, they get comfortable. They get comfortable. It's just an adjustment. It's a transition that's not always easy to make, but with a lot of love, support, and guidance, it'll be okay. Not always, but oftentimes, if everybody wants to be playing their position.
Do you think these people mental health care would help these people to I think need it. I'm just thinking of if it did come to the point where I have um and I'm thinking of this lady that just said, I want to go home. I want to go home so bad. She's cry about it every day. And
Mm-hmm.
you're alive, but what do you think would be the best thing, asking like maybe even advice for me to help my friend at work? She's my patient, but
Yeah, you mentioned mental health. I heard you mention mental health. Yeah, and mental health can be on several levels. From a point of just that empathetic conversation where someone's talking to you and listening and finding out what's going on, almost like therapy, to the point of maybe they are having some anxiety, maybe they are having some depression, maybe there is some underlying mental health issues that can be addressed with medication to take the edge off of it, because everything that we're talking about is scary. At some point it gets a little scary, so you can either talk through it, you can talk therapy through it, and or add some medication on top of it to help ease those uncomfortable feelings. So I think, yeah, mental health plays into things heavily. Heavily. It needs to be addressed.
and one more thing I want to talk about. It's not always older people that get this. Like I know a lady who's going through MS. I've had a young patient who's in his 40s. It's almost like he has to be in a nursing home because he had ALS.
Mm-hmm.
And things happen to younger people too. I don't know what happened to this other younger woman that she have to be in a nursing home. She had family, she had children that come to see her, but this is where she is in the nursing home. Can we talk about younger people?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
sometimes it's that parent that have to go through helping a child die.
yeah.
It's
It's
very
tough.
difficult. Can we talk about that?
Sure, that's seen a lot because we have so many conditions in the world. I mean, it could be anything from encephalopathy, liver disease, liver conditions, from alcoholic cirrhosis, or really bad diabetic issues, or I mean, I'm sorry, cardiac issues, cancers, and they affect people at all ages. Is these immune diseases. They affect people at all ages, and it could go from chronic to debilitating, serious illness, end of life conditions. There's no age range anymore. It's definitely not always the elderly that are total care or in these types of conditions. I think that the average age person that my team is seeing right now, probably in the 50s. That's not old.
No, it's not.
No, it's not old at all. And that's a lot of cancers, and cardiac issues, or just really comorbidities, just some kind of condition with a lot of comorbidities. It's happening.
Can we give a word to the parents that have to take care of their children and help their children die?
Yeah, it's hard. I've seen so many mothers at the bedside and fathers try to stand strong, and I can't imagine what that feels like, but I know that it's painful, and I would just, my heart goes out to them. I've stood with them often, and that's all that I can do. I would say if you know someone that's dealing with them, they deserve your support and your prayers, because I've never seen it be easy. But people are very resilient. So I haven't seen anybody not make it through it, but it's a tough time. And I don't know what it looks like afterwards. But I yeah, that's really tough, and it's happening.
I just thank you so much for being here because with everything that's going on, even people getting shot and young children, parents have to support their children in a dying mode. And it's just like so hard. So, and that's why I thought it very important to speak about so that we can begin to prepare um, as a people, that we can begin to prepare that this day could come for any one of us on either side. So please tell us tonight, Miss Jackson Riley, tell us tonight, give us an ending word.
My ending word is that we should just unselfishly love each other and support each other and take care of ourselves. Take care of ourselves first, because if we don't pour into ourselves, there's no way that we can help someone else. So be like just as supportive of yourself as you would be to someone else. Be kind to yourself, give yourself several breaks, treat yourself well, like mentally and emotionally. I'm a big advocate of therapy. Therapy does not mean that you have a mental health issue. It means that you need some time to talk to someone about yourself. Like, I could run my mouth about me all day with friends and family. So, in a safe space, an unbiased, professional safe space, why couldn't I run my mouth about whatever is going on in my mind and in my world, to relieve myself and have someone on the other side give me some constructive things to think about, to maybe redirect my thoughts, or to really get into the root cause of why I'm feeling this way or whatever is going on. So I think that my words of wisdom or encouragement are: be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Love yourself and love others.
And love heals all things. That's so beautiful. But you did say if anybody needed an advanced directive, you can get it to them. Would you give your email anytime?
Sure, sure, sure.
Hmm.
My email address is Keisha J. Riley, KeishaJ Riley, Riley, at gmail.com. You can contact me there. If you have Vivacious's information, she can forward it to me. Like, I'm always available, willing to be a resource. I would talk to somebody about a difficult situation, condition, try to point them in the right direction. I am just available in that way.
Thank you so much for being here. Good night.
Thank you, Valine.